Welcome to Jefferson Agenda. My first guest today is the mayor of Harpers Ferry, Kip Stowell. Welcome.
Well, thank you.
I want to ask you first a little bit about your background. You are an architect, correct?
That's right.
How did you get into that?
Well, I had a younger brother who was given a big set of blocks. He was 4 years younger than I am. This was in the early 40s. And I also used to go to see the newsreels in the theaters at the time, and it showed a lot of cities in Europe being devastated. And on top of that, I had a World War I book of ruins of buildings in France, and I would build cathedrals, opera houses, and then bomb them, and then reconstruct them and restore them. And that's how I get interested just in spatial things. But I had an uncle that was an architect for Old Deerfield, Massachusetts, that restored it for the Flints, who have their collection there at Old Deerfield.
Mm-hmm. So I assume did you get into architecture when you got into college then?
Yes, I knew from the 6th grade pretty much that I wanted to be an architect, but not knowing what all was involved, I knew that I enjoyed all the historical things. I made models of the Hanging Gardens of Babylon was my first model, and I had tuna cans in there with water coming up through as a fountain, and just painted it and played with it, and my peers at school kind of approved, and the teachers approved. So the next thing was my mother's hat box turned into the Colosseum, I think, and things like that. So I had a lot of fun building models, cathedrals and things, basically.
Now, why do you like to do architecture? What attracted you to it?
Because I think that I look at it as sculpture, and even houses should be seen in all dimensions, and that it's just habitation, really. It's a sculpture that you inhabit, and there should be, it should be carved out here and there, and there should be, how does light come into it? Light through the stained glass of a cathedral, for instance. These things can also be, given to the average person, because they can all buy a little piece of stained glass, and they can be enjoyed. I just like discovery, going into a house and discovering things, and discovering how other people live, what they collect, and what they read. It's kind of fun. You learn a lot about it. Mm-hmm. So I think that architecture is sculpture, in a way, that's used, for instance, even an office building. You want people to want to go back there to work the next day. And how is it lit? Is it the air conditioning properly done? Is it fresh air? Is it good air? So they don't get sick? I've always been concerned with texture. How does it feel? Is marble too cold for some places? Is too much carpet, too warm? Acoustics. I was interested in what makes a space where you want to be. I mean, you want to design something where someone is going to feel good, and they're going to come back again and again, hopefully. Now,
over the years in doing this, have you found yourself attracted to certain types of architecture over others, or do you just like it all?
I like it all. It's a challenge. If someone came and said, you want to do a dentist's office, I think it'd be fine. I have a brother who's a dental surgeon, and he hasn't asked me to do one, but I would like to do something like that. But mainly, I prefer doing houses, places of assembly like churches. I've done additions to churches. But I worked 30 years designing museums and adaptively using spaces in old forts and places like the Second Bank of the United States as a portrait gallery in Philadelphia, getting ready for the bicentennial. And I learned a little bit of that when I was a student at the University of Pennsylvania. I was hired to be on a student team of measuring buildings at Gettysburg